What is it actually, Nokia or Nokia? Since I'm not quite sure, I will just call it both in this video and be wrong and right at the same time. And since my Nokia 8 review was actually called Nokia 8 days later and is to this date my most liked video, I will just call this one today Nokia 7 Plus days later, okay? Okay, and let's get into the full review. And if you have maybe seen my preview already, you know that I liked it a lot, even though over the course of the week that I've used it, a few things have changed. For the better or for the worse, we will find out. But let's actually compare it in terms of size with the biggest competitor, at least for many people, because many people want to have this comparison, which I will make with the Xiaomi Mi Note 3. Yes, there are some obvious differences, besides the fact that they share the same SoC with the Snapdragon 660. The Nokia is a 6-inch 2x1 device, where the Xiaomi Mi Note 3 is a 5.5-inch device with 16:9, so traditional. But obviously already therefore you can see of how much taller the Nokia is, even though it is already a very tall phone on its end compared to anything else. It is also noticeably wider, and with a battery that is just a little bit bigger, it feels noticeably bigger in general. So just in terms of size, this one definitely wins, but let's compare it with something else. For example, the OnePlus 5T, and I did that already in my preview. You can see this is not really that much taller, but the OnePlus already was a tall phone. But if we are looking into small 6-inch phones, especially in terms of length, then something like the Xiaomi Mi Mix 2S in this case still definitely wins and is very similar in every other dimensions. But this one has a few tricks up its sleeve. Not just the case that I actually think is really good because it's very tight. It doesn't protect though the front really, but it sits really good and it will protect it very well, which you don't really even need to, because yes, I know in my preview I said I'm not quite sure if this is metal or this is plastic, even though I said I doubt it's plastic, and it's not. And for those asking why I don't do research, I never do research beforehand for a review or anything, because I want to have my own opinion, and if it's wrong, it's rather wrong than just repeating what someone else has said. But this is an aluminum unibody with 6 layers of ceramic, and I have to say, and I said this already in my preview, this is pretty much the best finish you can do because it doesn't attract a lot of fingerprints. It is super grippy. It will not get scratched up too easy, I think, and it just feels amazing. So please, whoever watches this, whichever brand, make more of these, because it doesn't have the downsides of an aluminum phone being very slippery or just scratching up very hard or very easy. And it's just not nearly as slippery as a glass phone, even though they are not for me. So I like that. We also have nice curves on the sides, so it doesn't actually feel that wide, but definitely very tall. I said that is a complaint of mine. Button store placed very well, and the overall execution, not just the finish on the back, but also the buttons. Top tactile feedback, top position, and of course that's a personal preference. I like the copper accent on the sides, and overall I think it looks cool. Yeah, but that's just me. Same as for the ring on the fingerprint reader, which is placed a little bit high. Obviously I have short fingers, I've said that already, but it is a very reliable. It's not the crazy fastest one. You can see the screen needs a little bit time turning on, but once it is on, then it works fine. So no real complaints, but there are faster ones definitely. Few people will definitely complain about the camera sticking out. It's just what it does. Of course, the sensors. Then we have an headphone jack still. Yeah. SD card and SIM card tray. On the bottom, USB Type-C. The speaker, microphone. No notification LED. In case I've actually said it in my preview, that was just out of habit because most phones still have it. And this, I know, will be an issue for a lot of people. I've heard it in the comments. It is a deal breaker, actually. For me personally, glance screen is good enough, but many people say they need to see from a distance without touching the phone if they got a notification. Well, that is simply not the case here. Other than that, we have a little bit of a nice curve here, a very small, subtle one, and a smooth transition, even though the sides are very edgy, but not really sharp. But overall, like I said, it feels really high quality and premium. But what about the display? Well, since this is an Android One device that is actually set up a little bit too bright, there is one thing, or pretty much not one thing, no chance to kind of calibrate, which is something that I would really like to have seen, because viewing angles are on a normal level, absolutely fine, black levels are good, white point was set a little bit on the colder side, but I have no real problem with that. I would have liked to have seen an option to change it, but viewing angles are okay. Obviously on the video it always looks worse. 500 lux of brightness is on a good average level, sharpness seems fine, so it's definitely one of the better mid-range displays, not quite on a level of something like a Moto X4, but still absolutely more than just good enough. Now about the speaker. I know that I actually complained a lot about it in my preview, and I'm still not satisfied with it fully because it still distorts at higher volumes and it doesn't sound really all that great. It tries to push the bass, but then it just does sound a little bit low quality, a little bit tinny, and I would wish for more volume. But I also have to say, in my week of using it, it actually didn't turn out to be that bad, because if I just watched normal YouTube videos, it was fine. Like I said, a little bit more volume would have been fine, but quality itself doesn't break it. I almost wanted to give it 4 stars, but since I gave the LG V30 just 3.5, I can't change this here either, and the same goes for the headphone jack, because you don't have an equalizer, you don't have extra options, it's not particularly loud, it's on a normal level. For most people this will be just fine for an in-ear or something like that. For proper headphones, definitely not, but that's usually always the case. Now let's kill all apps and check the performance, and I have to say I found one issue. And it is definitely not the smooth scrolling, because the 660, I know it from the Xiaomi Mi Note 3, is buttery smooth. But what I don't have here compared to the Xiaomi Mi Note 3 is the multitasking, which is quite bad here. And I will show you this actually real quick. If you, for example, do this, as you can see here, this animation is never fluid. And it doesn't really react all the time. So multitasking is not good. And a few people who have this phone actually showed me this. And it's, as you can see, it's first of all not reliable, and it's not right. And you might think this is just animation. If I, for example, use last app switcher, which gives me a bubble here, I can now select 2 apps. Let's say this and the browser here. Okay, so let's actually load a site. And now let's jump between 2 apps and just have to press it once. And everything else is done by the system. And you can see the delay is quite visible, and since I haven't actually used many apps, since I've killed all before, it actually works faster. If you actually have some more apps running, you will definitely notice that this is not a fast multitasking device. Once the app is loaded, once you're in it, there is nothing to complain about, because then everything is smooth. And if you just launch an app, you won't really notice it that much if you are coming from the home screen. If you are doing it like me, for example, over Smart Task Launcher, a few people always ask about that, then you will be fine. But it's not a snappy device. It's a smooth and consistent device, but it's not snappy, and the multitasking with this stuttering animation has some issues. Once that animation is done, it's done. Now, the next thing, gaming performance is noticeably better compared to something like a Snapdragon 630 or something like that. The 660 is closer to an 821, but I also had a little bit of some temperature issues for some reason, which I did not have on the Xiaomi Mi Note 3. So multitasking and temps are something you have to watch out for. Battery. Now, a charge takes 1 hour and 50 with the default charger, which is okay since the battery size of 3800 is a little bit bigger after all, but the battery life is actually a little bit weird. I expected more, even though I have to say, my judgment was pretty much spot on. I said in my preview, I expect about 8 hours of mobile data, and that is exactly what I got. Over the course of 2 days, I got one day 7 hours, the other time I got just about 6.5 hours. But I would say 6.5 because the second time was with heavier use. 6.5 to 7 hours on 2 days. Easy 2-day phone for me. And 8 hours on 1 day, absolutely easy. Standby rate, one was great. Most of the times, last time it was overnight like 5%, which is not that great anymore. So a little bit something flaky. So a little bit of optimization you can still see there in terms of temps, in terms of the multitasking, in terms of maybe standby rate. But overall, this doesn't change the fact that even though I did not reach quite the same values as with the Xiaomi Mi Note 3, where I reached like 11 to 12 hours on Wi-Fi, I still got 10 hours. So I guess the slightly bigger battery just gets equalized due to the bigger screen compared to the Xiaomi Mi Note, which gets pretty much the same battery life. But I would expect this to be a little bit more consistent when it comes to the standby rate. But either way, boom, yes, battery life. Okay, performance. Android One, do I really have to tell you much? We have, of course, the app drawer. We have a notification shade. And people who have asked me what kind of launcher I'm using, I did not change anything. Not even the icons or anything. Everything here is stock. This is just how Android One looks on a device, usually. I don't really think they have changed anything else, because you don't have extra options besides maybe this a little bit, because double tap to wake is here. You have ambient display, which I showed already, since you don't have the light, but not really any sound options. Let's see. This is advanced in their case. I'm not really sure what there is advanced for. But otherwise, you don't really get many features. What you get with Android One, you get long updates, you get them quite quick. which you would actually need here. I have to just say that it needs a little bit of optimization in general. Call quality was absolutely fine, not really an issue. That's why I usually don't mention it, but since people always want to hear it, and reception was really good. Always had LTE. So let's get into the camera, and this is already as a teaser. I will make a video because you can see that I have a different camera app installed, which is the Pixel, the modded, the port. Way better. The normal one is an absolutely fine app because we now have, maybe you have seen this from the old Nokia phones, the options for the manual mode, which is all good and all nice and dandy. But I don't think the bokeh works great. Everything else is okay. The feature, the one that I did not know what it is actually a beautify mode, but since I had it on also all the way down, that's why I didn't see a difference. But beauty mode, I don't really use it, and I don't think many people will, so I'm okay with that. HDR auto is nice, and everything else. But let's get into the results here and check the selfies. And this now is all with the normal cam. I will show you a little bit of an example of how much the Pixel cam will actually improve things. But as you can see here, not crazy sharp. It's good front-facing cam, but there are better ones. But once you see the Pixel cam, you will know of the real potential, because this is still a pro for this cam. It is the potential. There is a great lens that they used, but just not used to its full potential, because you can see all pictures look really nice. Of course, HDR or not or something, I would personally just recommend you to leave HDR on the time, because pictures look definitely nice. As you can see here, people said it actually doesn't look that well, that they weren't really impressed, but I don't see much wrong with these pictures. The autofocus was great, super reliable, fast. Pictures turn out absolutely nice, and yeah, there are better cams obviously, but this is after all a $400 phone that will soon be, I think, quite to $300. But like I said, the selfies, this is actually a example. This is what the Pixel cam can do. This not. But I will show you a few more examples. So low light was okay, not really anything to complain outside. And I'm not quite sure why actually my whole order is completely wrong. This is 4K. And yeah, what I don't like so much is the artifacting. That's a little bit too much. Sharpness is good. Autofocus works nice. There is some nice stabilization. It's not extremely heavy, but it still feels natural. But there is just a little bit too much artifacting on. But very good quality. Now here, this is the same in 1080p. 1080p actually looks even smoother, as you can see here. There is some nice, but yeah, I would still stick with 4K. And then if this is the right video, front-facing cam, the only problem that I have with that one is actually that the crop is just too extreme. And there is some little bit of morphing going on because of the stabilization. It gets a little bit of a jelly in your face. What is though noticeably better, that's the wrong one, is the sound compared to many other phones. Very high quality sound with the OZO. You have front, back or surround, and it works. But let's actually check a few pictures here that I did on the 18th. Give me a second. Just so you can see the difference. This is with the normal cam. This is with the Pixel cam. Here you maybe don't even see that much of a difference, but here it already is obvious. The pics look a lot more natural, more definitely in a separate video. And as you can see here, the contrast is just more right. And in the right pictures, you will see also way more details. And it's also about sharpness. For example, here, if I zoom in, this looks good, but not crazy sharp. But you can definitely see here that there is a little bit more of contrast going on. So pictures definitely look nicer. Here, once again, way more natural colors. And just real quick for the selfie cam, because that one is even way more impressive. That needs a second, wait. Okay, here. This is done with the selfie cam of the Pixel. Super nice, as you can see here, sharp, great colors, way better. And also there is a bokeh mode that works quite good. You will see that in just a sec. No, but here's the difference. This is the normal cam. This is the Pixel cam. This is the normal cam. This is the Pixel cam. So even though maybe lighting isn't always better that much, but the sharpness on the front-facing cam definitely is. But I would say let's get back. My camera seems to have issues because I look too dark again, but doesn't matter. Let's get to the rating and let's talk about if I can recommend it. Well, here's the thing. A lot of people have said to me it costs 400 euros, which is too much for a Snapdragon 660 phone, because you can get something like an LG G6, way cheaper sometimes an HTC U Ultra. You can buy just last year's flagships already. But you also have to consider that they are already out on the market for a year. This phone has just come out, and I'm pretty sure in a month or 2 or maybe 3 months this phone will be way closer to 300 and then will be noticeably cheaper compared to the other ones. And what does it have in the sleeves compared to the other ones? Yes. For example, let's just compare it with the LG G6, which came up most often. No, the display is not on the same level. Speaker is quite bad on both, or just not great. Performance, actually very close. Battery life is better on this one. Android One, you get updates, because I got so many complaints about the LG G6 not getting any updates. The camera is better on the G6, but with the Pixel Cam you are super close on this one, and it just comes down to a few other things. Like for example also the Xiaomi Mi Note 3, like I said I will compare them, but I can still recommend it even for 400 if you want solid battery life and an overall solid phone, just not with the best speaker and not with the best camera out of the box. You needed the Pixel Cam. With the Pixel Cam, only pictures are better. Video not really, especially since the sound is way weaker. So even if there would be a little bit of a difference for video, stick with the normal cam for videos because the sound is so much better. But for everything else, use the Pixel Cam. I will maybe link it down there below. I'm not quite sure. But yeah. If this gets a little bit closer to 300, if they fix the performance issues, maybe even the heating issues, and when I say fixing, it's not that it's bad or broken, just needs a little bit more optimization, but otherwise it's a fine phone. Yes, there are a few issues, like for example, it's very tall, the speaker is not the best one, and the camera potential wasn't quite used up to its fullest. But it is a very solid phone. I still like it a lot, and I think especially a lot of people who want Android One, who want the long updates, this is the main phone, because this is still kind of by now the closest thing to a kind of Nexus phone, because you get Android support and everything else, and you get a very solid package, and you don't go broke. Yeah.